Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Make sure you check out all the great shows on our Locked On Sports Atlanta network. A to Z, of course, hitting harder with John Juckery, ATL Day Ones. Don't forget about our Braves postcast. And, of course, Locked On Falcons and Locked On Hawks, which I'm sure Brad Wellman will have plenty of reaction to the NBA draft. So make sure you check out Locked On Hawks tomorrow, as well as A to Z. For reaction to the NBA draft. And speaking of reaction, there has been a reaction and a sort of overreaction, what I feel is in the wrong manner, to what we're seeing going on right now with rookie NFL dinners. The Jets' new wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, was shocked to learn that he would have to spend around $75,000 on former teammates to take them out to dinner. And so this whole thing has sort of exploded into the social media world. And there is a misperception and a misconception, one, about how much money rookies actually make and how much they actually get and everything like that. And then two, the idea that forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to do is a form of bonding. And I will dive into my experience here as best I can and sort of related, because there are people, and I've heard this throughout Atlanta sports media, who are like, oh, well, we're of course we're getting soft and we're getting too sensitive. And while I agree there is a component of softness and sensitivity to this, there's a way you go about executing this that is fair and equitable and not punishment. You can't force people to have camaraderie. That's not the way it works. Like, not everybody is made up that way. And I learned this more than anything from my background in the military. I learned this more than anything from my years of experience of being around a wide variety of people and sort of being a leader of them and making them do things they might not necessarily want to do, but things that they have to do. Sure, I can order anybody to do what I want because I'm a higher ranking officer than they are. I can order anybody to do what I want them to do because, well, hey, I am the one who's in charge, but that's not the reality of what is going on in the NFL. Forcing a young man to pay $50,000, $75,000 for dinner doesn't force them to be a better teammate. It doesn't make them be a better teammate. It doesn't make them work harder. It doesn't make them run routes any better. It doesn't make them catch any more balls. It doesn't do anything other than exert the notion that I am better than you because I've been here longer. It's flawed. It's stupid. This has nothing to do with sensitivity. The idea of hazing somebody into anything is outdated. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. I'm not saying there are places that don't call for it. I'm saying in this particular scenario, it's stupid and it's dumb. There were years ago in the military where you were able to do certain things that you can no longer do. And I can go back to my very first platoon sergeant. We'll just call him Staff Sergeant Joe. And I'll never forget, for as long as I live, Staff Sergeant Joe was upset at another sergeant. And he took him into a room and walked me in there with him, proceeded to push him so hard against the wall, walked up to him, grabbed him by the collar, and got nose to nose with him and screamed at him and basically headbutted. Nobody batted an eye. This was over 20 years ago. Nobody batted an eye at any of this because, well, it wasn't a big deal back then. You do that now, you're going to get thrown out of the military. Why? Because it's just not the way we do things anymore. And instead of complaining about it being sissy and wussy and sensitive and everything else, find a better way to do it. And you know what the easiest thing to do? If you want the rookie to pay, just ask him. Hey, man, look, this has been a tradition. This is what we've always done. Everybody here does it. We've gone through the NFL. I had to do it. We asked the rookies to buy everybody dinner as just sort of a welcoming and a thank you or whatever. Are you comfortable with doing that? And if he says no, fine, he says no. If you want to look at them sideways because they say no to that, because they are somebody who doesn't feel comfortable doing that, then that's your prerogative to look at them sideways. But do you look at them any better? Do you look at them any better when they are forced to do it and look at you sideways for it? I mean, what are we doing here? Like, I'm not sure that there's anything about this that's wussification or sensitivity or anything else. It's a practice that has just become outdated and you don't do it anymore. It's just like fashion, man. Sometimes things get outdated. You don't wear them anymore and you move on. Sure, people can wear them and sure, people can have a response to wear them. They can like wearing them, but at the end of the day, most people aren't choosing to wear it anymore. And that's okay. And former NFL wide receiver Torrey Smith came out and voiced the same thing and said when he was with the Ravens and drafted by them that Anquan Bolden didn't force him to do it and taught him about money management and everything else. There's one way to go about it. If everybody is openly accepting of it and nobody has an issue with it, that's completely different. Assuming everybody is openly accepting of it and doesn't have an issue with it is flawed. And it's not what you should do. It's not what leaders do. It's not what people do. And it's not the right answer. Plain and simple. So I watch people react to this and I sort of just scratch my head. You know, I say it routinely, adapt or die. Like if you're not going to change with the times and you're not going to flex to what the rest of the world is doing and what's going on right now, you're going to be the one who's going to end up paying the price for it, not everybody else who flexed. And if you don't like the way the world flexed, that's your prerogative too. But unfortunately, there's a social construct with which we all have to live in. And if you don't like that, well, you're going to be on the outside. Don't give me the woke stuff. You guys know me by now. It's not any of that crap at all. This has nothing to do with woke, or has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with just human decency. And it's that simple. And no one's in danger. You're not putting anybody's life in jeopardy because of this. So that's not even part of the equation. It's not like hazing at the HBCU band thing that used to go on and how bad that was. I mean, it's none of that stuff. That doesn't make it right. And you can choose to do camaraderie in many other ways other than forcing somebody to drop, a Mercedes-Benz on a meal. That's just, there are other ways to go and execute camaraderie. And there are better ways to go about doing it. So change your thinking, change your mindset, and you'll get better results. All right, coming up next, the one thing Atlanta sports teams won't do that they absolutely have to do if they'd like to get sports gambling here in the state of Georgia. That's next here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta.